Welcome to our last module, Module 3, where we will be comparing plant and animal cells. So you'll be combining Module 1 and Module two's learning into Module 3 to satisfy our C objective here, which would be to construct an explanation that differentiates between the structure of both plant and animal cells. So component C is what we are focusing on in this unit. I'm going to go to the modules page to walk you through everything that is a part of Module 3. Starting off, Module 3 is obviously this video that you're viewing at this moment. Next, we will have a recap video over plants and animal cells. So in Module 1 and 2, you viewed few different instructional videos on those as separate concepts. This one puts them together and gets into really comparing and contrasting the organelles functions as you will need to do yourself as you continue through this module. Next up is an optional, but I do recommend component, which would be to watch the BrainPop cells specialization and structures videos. When you click here, it should automatically take you into your BrainPop account where you can view these videos. And specifically, as I have up here, where it says at the top, cells specialization and structure video, what you'll want to search for is those topics specifically. So this video is just on cells. Whenever you have used BrainPop before, you may have noticed, as I'm going to show you here in a separate tab, that when you search for cells, for example, this gives me 35 different results actually on cells. So anything related to cells. As related as cells and their specializations and structures to cell phones, which clearly is not what we are studying, so be careful in that. So if you choose to do these optional videos, I specifically mentioned here that in the assignment title that it would be cell specialization and structure, which would be the cell specialization and the cell structure video. So watching those would be a really good extra bit of information and study tool. So now going in back to modules, after you have viewed those, as well as the recap video that synthesizes both animal and plant cells organelles, you will move on from there to your next assignment in Module 3, which is using BrainPop again to make a concept map. And submit me the link to that actually through your BrainPop account. So when you click on that, it should take you again straight into that concept map feature. There is a rubric for that right here too. Before I go into the actual tool itself, just let me remind you that you have an account through Cherokee County, so this should populate automatically, but if it does not, you could go to the BrainPop page over here, or even to, as I did up here up top, a totally separate tab and just open BrainPop and log into your account that way. So if you have any technical difficulties with BrainPop, those are two options to get you to where you need to be. Now, for my West Georgia colleagues that will be reviewing this course, I included this picture because unless you do have an account, you won't be able to access this. But BrainPop has a fabulous tool called Make a Map, which helps students create concept maps on ideas. This is specifically the compare and contrast template, which is a option. So students, you can choose to either, as it states here, you may either use the compare and contrast template as is shown down there, or you can make a map from scratch. If you have a totally different idea in your mind of how you'd like to structure this, that's absolutely fine. And you can just start from scratch on that. So, but down here, when it does populate, as this is doing within Canvas, you will have to click yes, you have an account and log in. However, you can see even in the background right here that the Make a Map feature is right here. So when you do access a video, so for example, if you're just on the website in general right here, I'm going to click on cells as a video, and this would be the case in any video on BrainPop. Once you're in it, you have the movie quiz option, and from there it varies depending on the topic, but you would access the Make a Map feature right here, and this would take you into the concept map. From there, you will need to, within your account, share the Link with me, which is a feature once you're logged in. It's up in the top corner, as you've seen before in class, and you will just share your map with me, and I can access it through my BrainPop account. Obviously, the information that I'm looking for is located here in the rubric. So including information on the parts of the cells and their functions, for both the animal and the plant cells separately, but then also an explanation on how they are similar and different within the compare and contrast sections of your map. So that will be how that is assessed. And the feedback that I'll give you will be both on working towards proficiency, if I find that your map has areas that need work, as well as evidence of exceeding standards. And I'll give you feedback on that as well if your work fits within those categories. I'm going to, at this point now, go back to Module 3 on the module page. And just to point out that that Make a Map assignment is due on January 30th and is worth 20 points. The next feature will be a discussion post, and I am not going to go into that in any more detail because after completing Module 1 and 2, this is no different. It is a discussion where you are explaining the plant and animal cell similarities and differences in more of an essay format as a discussion, and then replying to, as usual, to classmates' posts. And that needs to be completed for 30 points by February 2nd. Moving on from there, you will complete. Now, this is what we practiced for in Module 0. This is your digital storytelling component. That is a Adobe Spark slideshow. So it says 0 points right here, but that's only because this link simply explains directions and shows you the rubric to the project. But you will actually submit your project through a discussion post, which will be how you post the link to your project. So that is why directly below this, it says that the actual presentation link is worth 70 points because this project is actually 70 points. So these two sections of Module 3 actually directly go together. So if you go to the first one, again, like I mentioned, this is simply going to be directions and links to Adobe, as well as the rubric that identifies what I'm looking for. For my West Georgia colleagues, I noted here that Adobe is something that my students have both accounts with and are familiar with as a presentation tool. However, I did link right here a slideshow example from a previous student that I've taught to show you what those are like in case you don't have an account of your own, because you will not be able to view Adobe Spark without an account. Now, from here, I'm going to go back to modules because, so one more time, this presentation you will share through a discussion link post where you will post the link to your presentation. So at the conclusion of an Adobe Spark, you can go up to share and create a shareable link as you have already done in your Module 0 link. So this is simply for you to share that. So you will click reply and post just simply the link to your Adobe Spark account. That's all I need is just the link, and that will be proof of your submission. And I will use the rubric from the step just before this that I just showed you with which to grade your presentation. And your entire digital storytelling project, as noted here, is worth 70 points. Now, the next step here is you are going to complete 2 peer reviews of Adobe Spark presentation. So instead of simply doing a reply, as you have in your Module 1 and Module 2, and even Module 0, actually, discussion posts, on this module, you are going to complete 2 peer reviews of classmates' digital storytelling slideshow project. So here, when you click here, the way this is going to work is you are going to download the rubric right here that is attached as a Word document. And I'll show you that in 1 second. So you are going to complete 2 peer reviews of Adobe Spark projects created by your classmates. So you are going to, I will show you here, click and download if your computer is similar to mine, it will load down here at the bottom, but you will open the rubric. Now this will be similar to the one that I just showed you because it's the one that I'm going to use to grade your project. So you are going to have two rubrics here. So I have already created this for you with Peer 1 at top on this first page, and Peer 2 down here. So you will fill in feedback on whether or not you think that they either need work towards being proficient, or they met, or maybe even went beyond expectations here, and give me a reason why in both boxes, please. Oh, I'm sorry, in either box. So for example, if you think that they earned all 10 points for this component, you would put a 10. And if that's the case, you would put a comment about why you feel like they met expectations that much. If you put anything less than a 10 here, then please include feedback in the left box explaining what you think that they could have done to meet that component better. So 10, 10, 10, 10 points, and then 30 at the bottom. Again, fill in points here for how many you would grade the presentation to be. And again, if they have met those points completely, please give me a feedback in this column. And if it's anything less than that total, please give me feedback in the left column. So once you have completed those both, save it in some way to your computer or to your Office 365 account, and then you will click back up here to submit assignment and upload those completed rubrics here to complete this submission. And so those are worth 20 points each for a total of 40. And down here, I will fill in all of your names in the Your Name box once we get to this module, and I will fill in the students next to it, which will be the two that you review. So if you end up being the student 4, once the module 3 starts, then you're going to, for example, review student 5 and student 18s, which you will go back to the discussion link where everyone posted their Adobe Spark links in order to access those presentations and be able to review them. So for this peer review, again, you will need to go back to here to the presentation link discussion post to be able to view those assigned presentations. So once you've uploaded that, that is the last project of this entire course. The very last thing you will need to do is take the Plant and Animal final test. This is due by February 13th. And when you click here, this will take you to a link that will say start, if I'm correct. Yes, take the quiz, which, as I mentioned in Module 0, anything graded straight through Canvas, they call a quiz. That's why it is now opening up in the quizzes tab to the side. The first initial survey I gave you, as well as quizzes and tests. But this is a final test. It is worth 40 points. And before taking this, I would recommend going back to Module 1 and Module 2 and reviewing your the quizzes, and right here, quizzes and Quizlet review links in both modules, as well as reading over your graphic organizer notes for Module 1 and Module 2. Those would all be good things to review before you take that final test. You may use any of those notes during the test because this is an online course and you have those materials for use, so feel free to do that as well. But try to be prepared before you take it. It'll just make it easier on you. Please let me know if you have any questions about this final module by emailing me or contacting me during my office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2:30 to 4:30. I've had a great time during this module communicating with you guys, getting to know you a little better, and viewing all of your work. And thank you for a great course. I wish you luck in the future. Thanks.